My name's Natalie. We're really excited that you are with us today. I want to start our meeting with a couple of core values. Our core values are listed up here. Two values that I feel are particularly relevant are be accepting and be accepted, and people are more important than beliefs. We've got a great lineup for you today. We have a couple of songs from Brightwire. Our main talk today is from Aref Googhari. I'd like to welcome Aref. He is a senior at Texas A&M, and he's been the president of the Texas A&M University Secular Student Alliance Group since 2021. He helps organize weekly meetings for members. He tables events on campus and debates with Ratio Christi, correct? An apologetic Christian organization on the Texas A&M campus. He is the 2021 winner of the Houston Oasis Scholarship given through the Secular Student Alliance. Please welcome Aref.
As it goes in the Aggie land, howdy, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Jacob, who's not here, who invited me to do this talk today, and everyone else, organizers of Oasis, Houston Oasis. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but and thank you all for coming out today on this Sunday instead of going to church. Before I begin my talk, I want to say that this is great because the studies show that religious people tend to be happier than non-religious people. This is true, and I've always believed it, and I always thought, well, of course, this doesn't prove anything, but at least it shows that there's maybe some kind of utility to religion. But then I have a friend who likes statistics and studies a lot, so he delved into it, and he realized that it's not that religious beliefs make you any happier. It's that religious people tend to have a community, and that community tends to have an effect on them and their well-being. So if you were to actually narrow down these numbers, we realize that what we find out is that non-religious people who are active are just as happy as religious people who are active. So if you are non-religious and you have a community, you're just as happy as someone who's religious and has a community. So that's why communities like this are very important and great. And I'm grateful for this. I used to live in Houston. I never knew this organization existed. I don't know why I never thought of a secular organization. I mean, Houston is a big city, but I'm happy it exists. I'll be coming back to Houston after I graduate, which is in 2 weeks. So yeah. That's great. Now, the topic I picked to talk about today is the political divide in the country, and I think it's an important topic because, well, if we're going to solve any of our problems, we have to solve this problem first. And if, as a functioning democracy, we cannot find some common ground between people, then nothing is going to get done. We're just going to be more radicalized on both sides, and we're going to create more problems instead of solving any of them. A lot of what I will say may sound like tautologies, but I think they're worth saying nonetheless. So I have 3 causes. There may be more causes, of course, that I've overlooked. But I think there are 3 ultimate causes to political extremism, at least in our country. I suspect, all around the world as well. And after that, I'm going to propose 3 solutions, maybe not very viable solutions, but that basically correspond to the causes of political divide in the country. And the first one is this kind of fringe group activeness. Now, Pew Research Center did a study to see where people fall on the political spectrum. On one side, they put, faith in God conservatives. On the other, they put, well, I don't know why they chose progressive left, but that's what they picked, to be on the far left for some reason. But it doesn't matter how they worded it, but these were the two extreme of the political spectrum. And what they found out was only 10% of Americans fell within the faith in God, conservative, and only about 7% on the far left. And if you think about it, it's just 17% of the total US population. This is not a lot of people. I mean, it may be a lot of people, but not a great portion of the population. And you may be wondering, well, this doesn't align with what we see every day, right? We see extremists every day. They're on social media, they hold rallies, they do protests, and they're very active, and sometimes they attack the Capitol. You just look around and you see, well, how could it be that they're only 17%? How could they be so loud? Well, the reason is precisely because they are so loud. Most people are not as active as they are. Most people are not active on social media. They don't post videos. They don't tweet every 2 seconds. Most people are not going to be going to every rally and every protest. But these people are incredibly active. And one of the reasons they are active is, of course, because they're radicalized. Their whole life is based on their beliefs. So this is their goal in life. Of course, they're going to be incredibly active. And the rest of us, when we see these radicals, we think, well, we can't narrow it down to numbers, of course, because we just see them on TV or social media. We look at them and we go like, well, this is a lot of people. This is almost everyone on the other side, for example. And this creates a feedback loop, in my opinion, that a lot of moderates look at the other side, look at these fringe groups who are incredibly active, and they go like, well, these are all extremists on the other side. All the Democrats say all the Republicans must be extremists. Republicans say all the Democrats must be extremists. And that creates a negative feedback loop. And you get more and more people who are radicalized because they see the other side as being untouchable and not people who can be reasoned with. So this is the first reason, I think, that a very tiny minority of people are incredibly active and the rest of the people are very silent. The second one, in my opinion, is that, and this generally applies to almost everyone, I think, it's the sort of personal identity with political beliefs. To me, your personal identity is who you are as a person. Your political beliefs are just what they are. They are just beliefs, right? People say, oh, I am a capitalist. I am a socialist. I am pro-gun. Well, you're none of these things. You're just a human being. You believe in capitalism, or you believe in socialism, or you believe that we should have more guns or whatever. And those beliefs must be subject to change, because in the face of new evidence, if something changes, you should change your beliefs. But that doesn't change your identity. It shouldn't change your identity. But the moment you identify who you are with your political beliefs, then of course you're not going to change your opinion, because that means that you're going to change something fundamental about yourself. You're just going to change. You're not going to be who you are anymore. If you believe that we should have more gun regulation, for example, no matter what your stance is on guns, but I'm just saying this as an example. If the evidence shows that we should have more gun laws, then you think to yourself, well, no, I am pro-gun. This is who I am. I'm not going to change myself fundamentally. I'm just going to turn into a different person. Of course, you're not going to change your opinion. So there is no separation between your personal identity and your political beliefs, because many people do not see the distinction, unfortunately. And the third one, in my opinion, is sort of packaging of beliefs. The moment you tell someone, I believe in, let's say, free healthcare, they almost immediately think, well, oh, you're also a socialist. Oh, you also must be against guns. Oh, you also must be pro-abortion. I didn't say any of those things. I just said this one thing about this one particular issue, right? But this is where our political spectrum, this is where our political atmosphere is at the moment. That the moment you voice your opinion on one particular issue, people are going to assume a bunch of other beliefs that you have, that you don't necessarily hold. And I think this comes from the fact that, unfortunately, we are all, well, not all, but a lot of us are tribalist. We evolved to be tribalists, unfortunately, and that's the way they are. We want to be in a team. And you can't be in a team if you want to analyze each belief separately, because, well, then you're in no team, right? Because if you're in the middle, then there is no team to be on. That's not a good spot. So unfortunately, beliefs come in packages, and they shouldn't come in packages. And that creates a lot of problems. This is how ideologies are made, essentially. The three solutions, of course, that I have to these three causes are going to correspond to the three causes themselves. The first one, I believe, is that the moderates, or those who lean on the left or lean on the right, wherever they are, they need to be more active. And they're not as active. Because the one thing we need to do is make the voices of the extremists die down as much as we can. We don't want them to say they are the people who represent this country, or they are the people who even represent their own parties. So moderates need to be a lot more active. Now, I'm not suggesting everyone goes on Twitter and tweet 24/7. That Twitter is not a healthy place to do anything, honestly, but being just generally more active and not responding to a lot that's going on social media. Next time you see someone saying something outrageous on social media, just keep in mind that these are the same people who said the outrageous thing yesterday and will say the outrageous thing tomorrow. They're not increasing in number, hopefully, and they shouldn't be given a lot of food by your response. They're basically being fed. They get more recognition, of course. They can reach a larger audience. So you don't want to do that. Ignoring them is one way of dealing with them. The second way is ourselves being more active. The second one is, of course, we need to dissociate our political beliefs from our personal identities. And this can only happen if we have some civil discourse, and we can talk to each other, we can talk to the other side, or talk among ourselves. We need to understand that, hey, these are just my beliefs. You can attack my beliefs all you want. Doesn't mean you're attacking me. And when I criticize your beliefs, I'm just criticizing your beliefs, not who you are as a person. That is completely separate from your beliefs. I think when we started, I forgot your name, but you said that people are more important than beliefs. This is true. Beliefs should change. We just form the beliefs ourselves. And if we have new evidence, well, we just change our beliefs. Nothing happens. We still remain who we are as people. The last one is, well, to separate ideas and analyze them individually. Because, well, we don't want the packaging of beliefs. We don't want to be on one team. Now, I'm going to give just one example from science, since I studied computer science. The two methods in computer science, no, not two, there are many methods, but two of them are, in software development, Agile and Waterfall. Now, I'm not going to get into details, but Agile basically is a method in which you start, making this application or program, whatever it is, and you don't care how good it is. You just care about, its end. So you just go through it as fast as possible, and you just put it out in the market, right? And then it's not a good product, but you just put it out in the market, and then you wait for feedback from the users. And then once you get the feedback, you go back to your application, and then you make modifications, you release it again, you keep updating it. A good example of this, of course, is social media platforms. They do it all the time. They just make something that's barely functioning, they put it out, and then they get all the feedback from the users, and then they move on. And then the other one is, method is so-called waterfall. It's the exact opposite. So, you go through, you divide up your application into different steps. You vigorously do tests on the first step. You don't release it. You go to you move on to the second stage, the third stage, however many stages you have. And when you're complete, then you release the product. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because these are just different methods. And it's not that one of these methods is superior to the other one. It depends on your needs. It depends on what you're trying to do. It depends on your end user. It depends on the tools you're using in developing an application. You would be laughed at if you walked into a computer science class and said, I believe the waterfall method is superior and we're going to solve all our software problems with just waterfall. Everyone would laugh at you because it doesn't make any sense. And this is all the while we know all the variables in computer science. We know everything that goes into an application. There's nothing chaotic about it. How come that when it comes to politics, that our political discourse is incredibly chaotic? Economy is chaotic, social problems are chaotic. All of a sudden, someone comes along and says, I have capitalism, this is going to solve all our problems. And no one cares. And everyone looks at them like, well, yeah, they're a very rational person. How is it even possible? How could they possibly know that they have this one ideology and this is going to work for all our problems, no matter what the problems are? And this is why ideologies are in fact dangerous, because they don't solve our problems. If we're going to talk about healthcare, for example, then we should only talk about healthcare. It should have nothing to do with what we're going to do with education. That should also have nothing to do with what we're going to do with the food industry, whatever else. Economy is chaotic, economy is complicated, and we need to analyze each problem separately. We cannot have one solution fits all. This is not good for the health of our country. This is not good for the health of our politics. So yes, these were the three. Again, of course, like I said, there may be more causes. I feel like a lot of the causes are proximate causes, like social media that we use. I feel like that's just a proximate cause of why we have a political divide. It's not an ultimate cause. To me, these are the ultimate causes. Like I said, there may be more causes, and there may be better solutions, actually, because, like I said, the solutions I propose require reaching out to a lot of people and getting them to change their mindsets. And I don't think you can easily do that. Maybe a top-down approach from the government would be better in tackling these problems. But and like I said, there may be better solutions that I propose to these problems. But yeah, to me, these are the causes and these are the solutions. And well, thank you all for listening to me. I appreciate it.
So thank you for your presentation. In both 2016 and 2020 primaries, I was a strong, hardcore Bernie Sanders supporter. And simply put, I will go to my grave believing that had Bernie Sanders been the 26th Democratic nominee instead of Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump would never have been our president. This is because under Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden, the Democratic Party has abandoned its historical legacy of being the populist pro-labor union working class party of workers and small farmers that it was under Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, LBJ, and 1968 Bobby Kennedy, and has instead embraced unpopular items such as trade policies that have decimated factory towns such as Flint, Michigan, and financial deregulation in the form of Glass-Steagall repeal that led to the 2008 subprime mortgage meltdown. This, in my view, has led many voters to conclude that there really is no difference between the two major parties on economic and day-to-day kitchen table issues, and that both major parties would much rather fight a cultural war instead of solving the day-to-day kitchen table issues of poor working class Americans of all races and ethnicities. I just want to get your thoughts. How do you feel about the ideological direction of the Democratic Party under the Clintons, Obama, and Joe Biden? Do you feel that the fact that the Democratic Party is seen as an affluent social liberal party as opposed to a populist working class party? Do you think this led to the polarization that we're seeing today? Why or why not?
Can I get the last part of the question again?
Last part is that the Democratic Party today being more associated with socially liberal, affluent people as opposed to a mass populist working class and small farmers party. Has that led to more polarization than we should be seeing today? And if do you feel that? Yes, and why or why not? Does that did I clarify that? Okay.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I think there's something wrong with both parties. Actually, many things wrong with both parties. The Democratic Party in particular, of course, their position has changed from the 1992 when Clinton became president, then 2008 when Obama became president, and all the way to today. But have they, I think, yes, they have contributed to our political divide, obviously. Again, I think one of the reasons we have political divide is just we have only two parties. And of course, if you are a Democratic Party, you have to pick one side. This is good for your own, political life. Because you want to get as many votes as possible because you want to be elected. And the best way is to just go as far left as you possibly can. And the same is true of the Republicans, go as far right as you possibly can. So I think both parties have contributed political divide. I would personally blame that the Republican Party is slightly more than the Democratic Party. Obviously the parties are going to be shifting their position and their policies. Based on, how society is going. Yeah, but did that kind of answer your question, or? What was that? Oh. Yeah, I mean, that's a friend of mine talked about ranked choice. I don't have enough knowledge on this to have an opinion, but yeah.
Andy?
Hi again, thank you for the talk. I noticed in your bio that your organization does debates with a Christian organization on
Yes.
campus. And of course, Texas A&M is historically very conservative,
Yes.
rural Texas representation. I was curious, are the meetings tense? Are they friendly? Are they well attended? And have you achieved anything in terms of new communication between the two sides?
Yeah, I mean, yes, the Texas A&M campus is conservative, but it's only conservative in comparison with other colleges. It's not, I mean, the students are not the typical conservative you might see on the street. I mean, that they're different. So we have not, honestly, we have not, I've been involved with the org for the past 2 years. We have not received any hate, and we are on campus almost every week. We hold tabling events every week. So we're just out there literally saying, hey, we don't believe in God. And most of the time we have good conversations with people, we have good conversations with people who disagree with us. Once or twice, maybe not good things have happened, but and in terms of the debates, it was well received, I think, by both sides. Actually, we got some positive feedback at the end of the debate from Christians, so we were happy about that. But what was the best thing? The best thing for me about the debates that we had like 2 weeks ago, I think, was that 2 Christians actually came up to us and said we got them thinking. So I was like, well, that's good enough for me, I don't care if they change their opinion later down the line, but that's awesome if they do. But the fact that we made them think, that's great. But it was well received, so not a lot of not any hate at all, honestly. So yeah.
Actually, Noe?
This idea that we're not supposed to confront some of these radical organizations is something I disagree, because in the 30s, when the brown shirts were ravaging Germany, I think one of the problems is that nobody stood up to them, and so they won the streets, so to speak. The only time that I can think of when the extreme right was confronted was in Charleston or Charlottesville. And the other thing that I don't agree with is that these organizations rely on momentum. And a lot of the things that just a few years ago were considered radical are now mainstream in the Republican Party. And if they keep getting momentum, that's going to only embolden them even further.
On the first point, I'm not suggesting we shouldn't confront extremists. Of course, it depends on what an extremist is doing. Are they going out trying to kill people? Are they going out trying to threaten people? Well, that's a completely different story than just tweeting something. And my point about, I didn't say not to confront, but my point about sort of ignoring them to some state was that the majority of these people are not going to be doing anything. Of course, they would support extremist acts, If they would support something that happens in Charlottesville that happened, I think 2017 or 18, they would support that movement, but they're not the ones themselves doing that. It's a tiny portion of people. Of course, the people do participate, do act in those ways, they need to be confronted with. But I think that the majority of them are just their voices. And the more we pay attention to these people, the more attention they're going to get, the more recognition they're going to get. And obviously, the actual extremists, they're going to think they have more support than they actually do. On the second point, sorry, I forgot what the second question was.
A political momentum that it sort of feeds on itself, and then it starts growing.
Yeah, I understand that a lot of people think, okay, first of all, I think the Republican Party has been completely changed, destroyed after 2016. It's not a Republican Party, it's Trump's party by and large. But I don't think a lot of the extremism that people claim is now mainstream in the political, in the Republican Party is that mainstream after all. I think there was a poll just from the Republicans, asking them if they still believe that 2020 election was stolen. Something like 30% of them said yes. And 30% of them is about 10% of the total US population. So again, the great majority of them do not believe, in these things. I still believe the Republican Party is able to be saved somehow. And the majority of Republican congressmen, let's say, and those in position of power, they know, well, even though the party has turned into Trump's party, but they still know that Trump is not some kind of intelligent person who wants to save the country. They understand it. They say it when they talk to each other, and the voting record may show that as well. But I don't think any extremism has become mainstream in the Republican Party, even though I understand that it looks like that from the outside. So.
All right, we got one question online, a little more personal, I guess. How large is your secular student group at A&M?
How large?
How large?
We have 90, well, about 100 that are in the organization, but the active ones are about 20 people that regularly show up to events. And well, it depends on what kind of event it is. If we have a debate, of course, more people are going to show up, but about 20 are active, but we have about 100 people all in all.
Question from CB. Johnny.
Thank you for your thoughts and your talk. And I'm really glad that an organization like ours is able to be supportive of students like you. The future of secularism is really bright with someone like you. Can we give them a round of applause?
Thank you.
My question was, regarding your talks, you talked about how ideas and beliefs come in packages, and sometimes that can be problematic. And at the risk of, having that same thought, you also said that the moderates have to be more active, right? And I wonder if moderation is packaged with not being as loud about your beliefs. So the extremists we know are going to be out there, they're going to be loud, they're going to be in your face, and even though they may not be the majority, and then the moderates, they're not going to be as active generally. So how do we address that relationship between moderation and not being as active, and how can moderates be more active?
Yeah, that's why I said, some of these solutions may not be as viable, because it's very difficult to get someone who has political beliefs on both sides of the political spectrum to be as active, because, well, you're not just as motivated. This is just who we are as people. We're not as motivated if we are not extremists. So, but I think a lot of times we could just say our beliefs. There's nothing wrong with saying our beliefs. We could be a Republican, let's say, if someone is, and then say, oh, but I still support, universal health care. This one point you're spewing, on YouTube, you're just wrong here. I don't agree with it, even though I may vote along the same lines with you. So I think it's just for moderates to just say what they actually believe in, whenever the opportunity arises, and not caring whether or not, they fall on the other side of the team, or what people may assume about them. if they say their opinion. Again, like I said, it's tough, I don't always voice my opinion myself, but I think a lot of moderates can do that. I mean, being more active, it's just about saying your opinions loudly as often as you possibly can, so.
Eric?
Thank you. We had a speaker here a while back named Andy Norman, who's written a book called Mental Immunity, which really takes, I think, an opposite stance to what you proposed here. And that's that there are memes, they are infectious, and to limit their spread through society, one needs to deploy defenses that you can't, if you have an infection, just ignore it and expect it to go away, that you need to address that infection, either through immunization or through treatment. So, I'm just wondering how you would fit that in with the notion that, if you ignore it, it's a safe way to proceed.
Yeah, well, again, it all depends on what the specifics are. I mean, what kind of extremists are we talking about? Are we talking about the ones who just want to murder people? Are we talking about the ones who go out there and try and say, oh, get this person, put this person in jail, let's beat them up, let's show up at this one place, and let's say Jews cannot replace us or something like that? Are we talking about those kind of extremists? Or are we talking about this one guy who has nothing else to do with his life, who's on Twitter 24/7? It's their entire life cycle, and the majority of these people are like that. Some of them actually turn out to be the very same people who go to the street, but the majority of them do not. The majority of them are looking for, are just desperately looking for attention, but they're being given that attention, and of course they keep doing that because, well, they like that. They like the attention. So I think paying too much attention to a very tiny minority is going to give them more power in turn. That's what I believe in. Now, of course, if they blow out of proportion and they become something like, the 30s in Nazi Germany, of course, that's a different story. But as it stands, I don't think that they're that grateful in numbers. And I think most of them, even most of the extremists, are not going to be killing anyone. So they're more mouth than their actions. So.
I more or less was going to be a follow-up to that. I think there comes a point where, we're in this world of, viral posts and things like that. So kind of acting as a repeater, if you work in communications, you have repeater antennas and stuff, that it's not really conducive to take these small people who are just running their mouths and spreading it. So you can do the infection, but as you can hear, the wind and pollen, it's like you're taking that and you're blowing it out and helping spread it. So it's easy to take the infection thing. You're not really spreading infection. You're scratching the poison ivy and spreading it out by taking time to engage a lot of the, Uncle Steve that's posting all this stuff doesn't really push. So I think by a lot of that is engaging people who don't really have any skin in the game, and pushing them out actually gets more people to pay attention to what, we live in Baytown. We deal with the guy who kind of pushed to maintain Robert E. Lee, just like a guy at, Home Depot. It really doesn't have any real thing deep to say, but we allowed his message to be spread out.
Yes.
So it's kind of that point. You don't want to be the repeater for the people who are saying something meaningless that don't really have any ability to change things one way or the other.
Yeah, I agree with that. But we're just giving them more platform that they could possibly deserve. We shouldn't want to do that. So again, like I said, it all depends on how active they are. What are they in numbers? What do they actually do? So like I said, if we have a situation like the 30s, Nazi Germany, well, that is a different story than what we have currently.
Time for one last question.
I have a question specific to A&M campus and specific to the class of person that I am, because I'm gay. In many countries, we're persecuted, we're put to death. And the Republican Party we've now become a talking point against our people. What do you find is happening on the A&M campus? I know there is a gay student group, but what's the general attitude of the students?
Well, in terms of minority rights, at least on campus, as far as I've seen, including members of LGBT and gays, I think the campus, in terms of students, like I said, as far as I've seen, even the Christians, even the believers, they're very tolerant. It's almost gotten to a point where I can safely say no one really cares anymore. You know, if you say you're gay, they're just going to look at you the same way as if you were not gay or you were, straight or anything else. So for that, I'm very happy for that. And especially since it's happening on Texas A&M campus, supposedly it's one of the more conservative campuses in the country. So when I see that happening on Texas A&M campus, I'm very happy. And I can tell, the newest students, all of them are almost tolerant. And, even though sometimes they say their parents are not, but they themselves, they really don't care. They love everyone. They engage with you. So I'm happy for that. So that's good.
Before we have one more song by Brightwire, we want to thank you all for being here today. The people, the community is what Oasis is all about. If you like what we're doing and you are able, please consider donating money in the hat. We don't have a hat today, but we do have a Terry. So you can give her money. You can also make donations through Venmo. You can go to our website and click on the donate button, and you can set up a recurring donation or a one-time donation again, if you're able. And want to mention you have an opportunity to volunteer with us next week at the Houston Food Bank. It's on May 7th from 1 to 4 o'clock. We do ask that you register first. We need you to register before you join us. And you can do that on Facebook or on Meetup. You can talk to Abhishek if you have a question about how to do that as well. And it's also in our bulletin.
This is driving me crazy, 'cause I know that something's off. What's up with you lately? I can't put my finger on, this ain't gonna break me, 'cause this is how I live my life, not the girl that you lied to, and you only get one strike. And probably now you're gonna say go. Hey, watch me walk right out the door, 'cause I'm good at gold. Just watch me go. You should know this about me. I can flip my emotions like a switch. Wasn't stopping you, baby. If you need to scratch that itch, so don't take me the wrong way. I liked having you around, but you take me for stupid, and I'm halfway out of town. The smart girl's always got her bag packed and ready. Yeah, it's better to leave than to get left. And I'm just telling you now that you ain't gonna stop me, 'cause I'm only looking out for myself, like my grandma taught me. Yeah, I'll go. Ooh, just watch me go. Hey, watch me walk right out the door, 'cause I'm good at gold. Watch me go. Say things I can't ignore. Just watch me go.